Well, hello, everyone, and welcome once again to All Things Brunswick. We have a great show today. Before we get started on that, I want to welcome my co-host back. We haven't seen Todd for a while. He's been busy, so glad you're back, Todd. And, of course, we couldn't do a thing without our tech guy, TK. Thank you, sir. He does everything to make sure that we're doing a good job here. Today, we're talking about a very important subject to me, anyway. It seems like I am involved or witness, or I don't know what the word is I want to use, at least once a week in this, and that is scamming. Not that I do it, but I seem to be a target. Anywhere from somebody that wants me to go out and buy gift cards. I just recently had somebody get into my checking account for $1,400. And also I have these gentlemen who I never know if they're real, text me to say, I want to be your friend. So, and I know just from listening to them, reading their statements and looking at the language they use and the grammar that they're probably about 17 years old. So anyway, it's been interesting. Today I've invited two gentlemen from the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office, and this is one of your specialties, or anyway. I want to introduce Kyle White.
Hello.
And Justin Mullis. And I appreciate you both being with us so much. I have so many questions that I'm not going to go crazy here, but
Trust me, she can.
I'm probably the most curious person you'll ever meet. Anyway, Kyle, please tell me a little bit about yourself and how long you've been with the Sheriff's Office.
Okay. So I've been with the Sheriff's Office a little over 6 years. Been a detective a little over a year now. Started with fraud and financial, and pretty much been here ever since.
Great. And how about you, Justin?
I started with Stanley County. Was there for 7 years. Made the transition over to here in 2023. And started financial crimes detective in October.
Great. Well, welcome to you both. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's my understanding that we have a lot of scamming in this county.
Yes.
I'm sure that it's everywhere, but honestly, I've never heard so many people talk about it as they do here.
It's almost a daily thing.
It is. It truly is. If you don't mind, I'll just share what happened to me yesterday.
Okay.
And I had already told these two detectives about it, but a friend of mine who we text and email back and forth, he lives in another city. I get a message yesterday from him, an email asking if I could please do him a favor as he's going into a conference, and I couldn't call him back, that I must email him back. So that really didn't send any red flags, because oftentimes this is what happens with him. But then the second email was, could I please go out and purchase 10 gift cards at $100 each, and because he wanted to make them gifts to some of the people who work with him. I still didn't have any red flags, so I said, sure, no problem, I'd be happy to do that. And then the third email stated that when I got the gift cards, I should scratch the back and send him all the numbers to the gift cards. Oh, and keep one for yourself, he said.
Now the bells are going off.
And now the bells are going off and the red flags are coming up. And I said, okay, no problem. This is exactly what I sent back to him. I said, no worries. And while I'm about it, I guess I'll call the sheriff's office. Well, needless to say, I didn't hear back from him. But my friend did file a police report. So it seems like it happens to him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So is this common? Is this
This is very common, actually. We see this one quite a bit. Fortunately, in your case, you caught it early before you actually had sent anything of value. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't, and they'll end up sending the information off the cards, and then they pull the money right off. And typically with gift cards, they're very hard to do anything with. Once in a while, you'll get lucky, and it'll be like drawn from a bank, and they'll be able to source a little bit of information to see where it may have been spent. But typically, there's nothing to be tracked, just an amount.
so if you find out where it was spent, then that means you have to go to that place and investigate it.
Typically, if it's somewhere local, if it's not local, we can try to forward the case to wherever it may be, so then they can take over the investigation, or try to aid us and see who's actually spending it. Because typically what we're seeing with these is when they contact you, they're using like burner emails. So that's a specific email just made for this. Typically they're using VPN, so we can't try to track the IP address back.
Right.
They limited us tracking it back to them quite a bit.
Really?
So these are unfortunately one of many that are very hard to solve and actually get a conviction on.
I'm sure. Now, do they try to do this by telephone as well?
Yes. We're seeing a lot of spoofing of phone numbers. I don't know if you guys have heard about the jury duty scam.
I don't think I have.
So we have quite a bit. Jury duty's one. People will call portraying themselves as usually an officer or a federal agent, something of that nature. We've had our sheriff's office number spoofed to where it shows up as we called you
Oh
from
my
the sheriff's
goodness.
office.
Now, what do they say? What do they get out of this?
So what they'll do is they'll typically say you either have a warrant or you've missed jury duty and there's an arrest warrant for you. But they've been authorized, if you send them crypto, typically was what it is, or gift cards, they can take care of this for you, and you won't need to do anything but come in and talk to the sheriff's office later and just let them know that you've taken care of it, more or less.
After they've gotten your money.
After they've gotten your money. Yeah, the money's always first.
Now, I don't know, maybe I'm too curious or whatever, but do people really do that? So they
Unfortunately, yes.
think, yes, that's...
There's been a few fall for it. Typically, it's anywhere from a few $100s to a little over $1,000. Typically, it's not huge sums of money, but any money's too much money, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. It's still theft.
Right. They attempt to like play on your emotions and know what you're going to be scared of. So they try to get the urgency out there and scare you to make the payment then. So
I've actually received one of those phone calls, but it was for Cumberland County. And I said, okay, that's fine. I know the sheriff. I'll give him a call.
That's usually the end of it.
And that, no more.
Right.
It was done.
Yeah.
And it's just like if somebody called me and it pops up that it's Brunswick County, I'm going to say, okay, I'll call Brian Chisholm up and see what's going on. And click. That's what's going to happen because they know they've been made. But this phone spoofing, it's really crazy because the other week I got a call and it was BS, but it came up as my number. I was calling myself and I was like, okay, no, this is going to be garbage, and I'll answer. And sometimes I'll just string them along just to mess with them. Because as long as they're tied up on the phone with me and not going to get anything, they're not stealing from somebody else.
That's true.
So, and I'll give them all kind of run around, ask them a ton of questions and all, and I've actually had them hang up on me.
The other thing that I've heard that, and my roommate actually had this happen to her, they wanted to get into her computer so that they could get the information they needed and then go to her accounts.
The software problem.
Right.
Yeah, they
so
need
they
remote
do that
access.
as well.
Yes, so a lot of times what they'll do is say they'll send you an email, actually install an issue on your computer, say a virus, and then they'll then contact you pretending to be with, say, Microsoft, Apple,
Right.
Whoever your computer may be through.
Yep.
And, hey, we've seen problems on your computer. Go to this link, let us get access, download this software, and then they basically take over your computer and can monitor basically whatever they want or just go directly into your accounts from there.
Wow.
You get your passwords to your bank
They'll
accounts,
they'll watch
whatever.
while you log into everything, and then they can collect all your passwords and basically have
Yeah.
full control of your accounts.
Another form of scamming in this area that I have talked to several people about are known as romance scamming.
Yes.
And that is probably these young guys that are getting up with me and I want to be your friend. Okay. And I do know of a lady who has lost a great deal of money.
We've had a few that have lost great deals of money to the point of mortgaging their house, selling their, if they had a second home, selling those.
Oh my
Good
gosh.
grief.
I know one instance we had where a lady had been a victim of this multiple times and just kind of kept doing it. I believe she ended up actually getting 7 cars involved, and she ended up sending cars away too, and I think that's still actually an active case.
Good
And
But
that's
it's-
in our county.
Mhm.
Oh my
But people
goodness.
end up becoming
In a
very involved with
relationship,
these
yeah,
people when they
yeah.
think that they're going to get married, and in most cases, if you really talk to them and dig into it, they've not even ever met these people. Everything's been online, everything's been through text, and they've just built such a rapport with these people that they trust them, and they trust them more than they trust you when you come tell them, hey, this is a scam, you're being defrauded, and they're taking all your money.
And
No.
I
And
know.
then when you go to leave, they're like, okay, yeah, I can see. I thought it was, but then the next week you get another report from the same person saying, I sent them more money. They convinced me it was real again. And they just, unfortunately, they really target your emotions and just have you so more or less brainwashed.
They
do they
choose to
train
believe
to
it.
do this?
So the best way to explain it is the same way as,
It's not like the con men of the 70s.
no, the same way as a lot of your predators are grooming children.
Right.
It's very similar, is they're grooming you slowly to trust them and to trust them to the amount that you'll send them all your money, mortgage your house, do whatever you have to do, and send them more money. And they don't
Because
care.
you believe everything they're saying.
Mhm.
And they probably target people who are lonely,
Typically.
by themselves. I mean, I think that being a widow, I'm a widow, okay? So I get all these crazy texts and emails about everybody wanting to be my friend, which I have no interest in. So, I don't pay that much attention to them. But now that you talk about this, I know that's exactly what's happening.
Now, do these kind of stem from maybe a Google search or website that people have been on or something? Because how would they know that the number they're texting or the person they're contacting is, a single older lady or something?
It can. Typically, it could be a compromise. Say you signed up for something, and then there was a breach in security and something you signed up for, your taxes.
Yeah, because that never happens.
No. You just never get told about it. Typically, it's more
Yeah.
the truth behind that. That
Or it could
happens
come straight from a
lot.
dating site.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh,
when,
that's
when you're on the
true.
dating site and doing it that way, get that information from that, just so you know that this person's looking for a companion.
And the other thing, the unfortunate truth anymore, is your information's out there. We all do things online. We shop online. We put our emails out there. I mean, it's meant to be contacting you through. So your information's out there. I remember we were talking about them offering like a LifeLock kind of system for us. And they were saying, I want to say it was 2017, the DMV had a breach. So any information they would have had could have potentially been leaked.
Wow.
And I may be wrong on my date on that, but it was so everywhere potentially could become breached through cyber attacks and stuff. So your information's all over the place. I mean, look at Social Security office. If that would get attacked and get a breach, that's everybody's information potentially.
Yes. That's scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you kind of like to keep that number private.
Well, and a lot of that information gets onto the dark web.
And people buy, sell, and trade it.
Yeah, and like the cellular companies, almost all of them have been hacked.
Oh yeah.
And because we had Verizon paid for a year of LifeLock, and I'm like, oh, so they're going to magically lose that information after a year?
No. I mean, that's stored somewhere. Yeah.
But that's just part of what I've seen, because we actually had it, and I've had my identity stolen and all. They opened up a bank account and everything. And we got it stopped before any real damage was done. But it's my
Thank
wife's
goodness.
a CPA, so she stays on top of everything. She checks our bank accounts every day. And at least once a week, she'll go through any credit cards and everything and make sure there's not anything on them. And it's kind of a pain in the tail sometimes. I'm like, what'd you spend $6 for at Walmart? Really? You're worrying about $6? But she has caught where people have filled up their cars, because we used to have a BP gas card.
Right.
And people were filling up their cars, and they were in Florida with our card. And we
Well,
contacted them,
I don't
and they made it
understand
right,
that.
but
Yeah.
still.
I don't understand that. It's like the purchase on that showed up on my statement for $1,491. Okay, when I called and spoke to someone, they couldn't even tell me what it was for, what the company was all about. It was some shell company somewhere in Rhode Island, for heaven's sakes. A place I've never been to. And they couldn't really give me any information. And as far as I know, they're still investigating it. Of course, if you have the right bank, which I feel I do, and I'm sure that most of them do, they credit you that amount and they continue to investigate. But have you ever caught anybody, literally?
Now you're on the spot.
So, in some things, yes. What exactly is your question? I guess.
Are you fortunate enough to catch scammers and prosecute them?
Certain things, yes. Specifically, typically more something in our area, or something, say, like check washing, which I'm sure we'll get to here in a little bit. I'm kind of jumping ahead, but that typically there's a lot better trail to follow, because it's still a physical thing being used. A lot of these other things, credit cards, gift cards, a lot of that stuff is online. So you're a ghost on a wire for the most part. There is ways to track it, and you can to a certain degree, but with the VPNs and being able to bounce IP addresses around, you're chasing ghosts for the most part, and they know it. Not to mention, a lot of times people can't even tell you where they think they got breached. Because, I mean, think about how many places you use your credit card. Any
Yeah.
one of those places could have stored the numbers.
And you know, this happened to me once before when I was on vacation, and I remember the place that I last used my debit card. A few months later, that business was shut down because the owner of the business was not doing legal things. So I guess I had my answer, in that
Maybe.
case. Maybe, yeah, you're right.
So the scary thing that we've seen, it hasn't happened so much here, but it does happen. I think we've had one case of it, is fast food. So you go through the drive-thru, you hand them your debit card, preferably hand them like a Discover or an actual credit card, because you're a little more protected with those. We'd much rather you use those than your actual debit card. Use your debit card to pay your credit card. Other than that, don't use your debit card. It's about like writing checks. Just let's not do it.
What are you supposed to do?
We'll get into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But So you hand them your card when you go through the drive-through, because
Right.
who carries cash anymore? Very few of us.
Right.
You hand them that. Keep an eye on what they're doing with it, because a lot of them will take this cell phone right here, like this. They'll tap their camera, and as you hand it to them, they run one side. They go over and swipe your credit card. They run the other side back across and hand it back to you.
And you get your CVV codes off
They
the
got
back.
everything they needed to use that credit card online, shopping, or anything else.
It's kind of like on the gas pumps where they're putting their card readers on top of the gas pump reader. So when you put your card into the pump, it actually scans it and uses the Wi-Fi of the gas station to send it to somebody's computer. And it's not part of the original pump, but they install on there, and you can't tell it. It looks like the normal card reader.
So
We had it in Cumberland County.
I'll
We
blow your
had
mind a
several of
little bit
those.
more with that.
Uh,
So your card readers have advanced so much now. It used to be how you'd have like the stick-ons, and that's what you think. It's like, oh, you can just pull on it and flip it off, and that's how you'll know. No. Unfortunately, now they've got to the point where they order the keys for the gas pump. They'll stop through the gas pumps, unscrew or unlock the gas pumps, attach their software inside or their hardware. And this is all inside of the gas pump. So everything outside looks normal. You would never know anything until you start getting alerts that your card's been compromised.
Oh, wow.
When do they
No
do
way you would
this?
know. They'll come by, when the store's closed, say some of them are automated at night, or when they're busy and nobody's really paying attention, they'll just bloop. And these
Oh my
things are literally
goodness. I feel so naive.
wired to the point where they're plug and play. Like they're being able to be attached to the already existing wire harness of these.
They check what
Gas
the
pumps.
manufacturer of the gas pump is, and then they just make a plug-and-play
Well,
unit.
what's bad is you have these chat rooms, and almost like a YouTube, they're teaching each other how to do this. And
Oh my goodness.
I mean, your criminals are getting smarter. A lot of your organized crime, if you start really digging into the web, you can go to Reddit, you can go to YouTube's got a couple different things on it. The biggest one you can look up is jackpotting. It was kind of the same thing, but with ATMs. So what they did with that was they're coming up with hacks for the ATMs. They can go through, plug in this code, or hook a computer to it and tell it to basically spit out all the money.
Oh my goodness.
So they can go up and run, say a gift card or whatever they want to, and it just has to show that some kind of activation, and it'll prompt it to then spit the money out however the code is written. And
Wow.
yeah, you'll empty out an ATM.
Oh my gosh.
And they've come up with better ways and more advanced security for some of those too, but it's happened a few times at different places.
Good grief.
Not to terrify everybody, and
I'm
nobody
terrified
ever
already.
leave
I
the
feel
house
very
anymore. but-
naive. But before we go any further, we're going to stop and pay a few bills. But please stay with us, folks. This is a very interesting, informative for your benefit. So we'll be right back.
What a great place we all call home. From colorful sunsets to panoramic coastal views. The best attractions are its people, a community of friends and family. J.K. Summers, attorney at law, recognizes this fact and is proud of his work to protect their rights. Put your trust in him to prepare wills and trusts, real estate transactions, contract and LLC creations, and criminal, traffic, and civil matters. Visit oakislandlaw.com or call 910-253-5572. J.K. Summers, Attorney at Law.
Veteran Awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you or a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
Welcome back, everyone, to All Things Brunswick. We have a very informative show for you today. Our guests are two detectives from the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office. We have Detective Kyle White and Detective Justin Mullis. Did I do that right?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. And we're talking about being scammed, which there is a lot of that in our county and worldwide, I'm sure. Detective Mullis has an interesting. Is this something that you experienced?
So yeah, this happened on my work phone. I got a message saying that I had a package that was supposed to be delivered. Obviously, I don't use my work phone to put in when I'm buying Amazon packages or anything, so I knew it was not meant for a package meant for me. But one of the things I started looking into is these scammers are going to obviously know that during Christmas time you're going to be getting a lot more packages to your house. So when they send out this message that I got saying that I had a parcel missing and the zip code was not correct on it, and they did the saying that it was urgent, that you need to respond to this or your package is going to be returned. A lot of times once you put that in there, they want you to copy that IP address to your Google and put it into the search and go to that site, and it's going to take you to somewhere where you're not supposed to be, and then they'll get you to put information in, and they'll have all your information at that point. But some of the things that you could look at to avoid that is don't click this false text message that you're getting. Make sure that you go to your own website that you order the package from and check the status that way, and just do some research on it and handle it that way.
Report it as junk and delete it.
Right. Yep.
So obviously, you would have had to have ordered something, right, online.
Well, not necessarily, because that's what I was saying with this.
They're guessing.
Yeah, they're guessing. They're just sending it out mass.
Okay.
Because I didn't order anything with my work phone number. So it's just a mass text messages knowing that you're going to have deliveries. That's
Right.
what they're planning on.
And pretty much anybody you order anything from, you're going to have a login with them.
Right.
So if you are expecting something, before you do anything with that, go to that website, whether it's JCPenney's or Amazon or whatever, log in. If there's a problem, they're going to have a message in there for you.
Right.
And typically that company, whether it be JCPenney's, Amazon, they're going to be the one to send you tracking information. So you can
Right.
go through that, and then that'll link you to the actual USPS or whoever it is, FedEx, to watch the tracking.
I've actually had that come up on mine about a month ago.
Yeah, I
and
did too.
It actually had the post office logo on it. And I'm like, okay, they're really getting good now because I hadn't had anything ordered. So, and I'd already called my wife, and she said, no, I haven't ordered anything. So I'm like, okay.
So this is, I mean, the scamming that goes on is in everything you do. Your computer, your telephone, your ordering service, your bank account.
Your social media. Social media is a big one, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen a lot of times they'll say, how old were you when this song came out? They're fishing for information, because if you say you were, 10 years old in 1973, well, they're narrowing down your age, and they ask, there's these little things, and they seem harmless, but they're asking questions that can pinpoint them to specific information about people, and it's amazing all the people that will respond.
Yeah.
Most people have that stuff on their Facebook anyway. Hey,
Yeah.
happy birthday,
Yeah.
happy 20th. I mean,
Yeah.
most people are open books on Facebook and
Right.
everything, and they just don't even think about it.
Yeah.
I've just noticed recently that people are not filling out the information section as much as they used to. And I'm thinking that's perhaps
Kind of wisen
why.
up a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. Is this something that you wanted to speak about as well?
Yeah, so this is holiday shopping, and a lot of it'll be on social media in like inexpensive, popular items. You know that this item is worth $150, and they're selling it for $17. Obviously, if it's too good to be true, then it's gonna be.
Yep.
So they'll take you to a website, say for Nike, and they'll have a whole website made up that looks maybe even better than the real website. But you just got to understand that nobody's going to be selling items that are worth $150 for 90%
Especially this time
off.
of year.
Right. So
I mean, unless you're going to Temu.
yeah. So
And then it's a
Right.
knockoff.
I guess common sense
Right,
plays a part
right.
in this. Yeah. So just remember that, folks. If it's too good to be true,
It is.
Detective Mullis says it is. And so, are there other ways that we can protect ourselves while we're doing our holiday shopping?
So, like Detective White said, using a credit card whenever it's possible, because they're gonna give you a chance to dispute those charges. Because if someone's asking you to pay for with gift cards or wire transfers or payment apps, that's how scammers operate. That's not how regular companies operate. They're going to take any major credit card, and those credit cards are going to be put in place to give you a chance to dispute those charges.
Okay. So now I don't know, I guess all of them follow the same procedure, but with my debit card, I can dispute them as well. And
Right.
my bank will do that. They have an area that is specifically for that.
Right.
So, but it's better to use your credit card.
It's just less information, I think.
And you have less
Right.
exposure as
Right.
well. That's why I haven't used my debit card in so long, I can't even remember what the code is.
Right.
Because I only use a credit card, and then we just pay it off at the end of the month. It's
I
easier.
don't believe in credit cards. I don't have any.
So
I have two
I'm the
debit
same way.
cards.
I have two, and
Yes.
I won't go more. I've been tempted to go back to one, and that's basically just to keep some kind of credit.
Yep.
It's come to the point in the world now, if you don't have credit, they almost feel like you don't exist. You can't get a loan, you can't do
know.
anything, and they expect you to have two forms of revolving credit to show that you can pay money back and everything. So banks can be kind of a pain with that if
I
you need to get a
know.
car loan or a house loan or something. The biggest reason that we recommend you to use a MasterCard, Discover, an actual credit card as opposed to a debit card is with a credit card, you're using their money.
Right.
They're real keen to get their money back promptly.
Yeah.
And they usually have some protections and stuff in place and insurances to where if something happens, they can still be reimbursed. With your bank, most things, online shopping and stuff, usually the fraud department will handle that and reimburse you
Right.
for that. There are certain circumstances, say if you use Venmo, PayPal, and you send money to somebody, that was an authorized transaction that you approved. They will not reimburse you for that,
Wow, I did not know that.
depending on the bank. There's a couple, usually like state employees, will usually go out of their way for their members.
Yeah.
But again, not all of them will, and even sometimes they won't. Typically, it comes down to it was an authorized purchase. So that's what we run into a lot of times with like our crypto scams and stuff that we're.
Tell me about this crypto.
I walked into this one.
You open the
Well,
door.
I'm sure I'm not the only one that is not real familiar with it.
Well, it's new. Honestly, we're still getting familiar with it. We actually consult with the FBI and Secret Service quite a bit when we get these, just because it is such a new thing. We're still learning. They're still learning. I mean, there's times I've called them and they'll be like, well, we'll figure this out together. And then we talk it out, and then usually we try to come up with a plan with it. And
Sure.
unfortunately, it's kind of like gift cards. It's still, for no better way to put it, the wild, wild west. Some places will work with you and send you information. You can send them an email, and they'll send this stuff to you. Some of them won't even send it with a search warrant. So
Wow.
it just depends on where it is. Well, most of these places are online, overseas.
Yeah.
The actual physical places almost don't exist.
Yep.
Like I'm trying to remember which
There's
one it
cyber
was.
buildings.
Just about.
Yeah.
Some of your banks have gone that way too, and they're pretty much an online footprint. And that's about it. They may have like one office, which is like a little office space in a FedEx building somewhere.
Oh my.
I-
And that's trustworthy, supposedly, I guess.
Well, I remember I just recently went to a conference for fraud and financial crimes and stuff, and so you get a bunch of investigators in a room, and they tell stories, and they'll do presentations. But they were saying that one of the exchanges, like when you go to send a search warrant, it goes to a PO box in like the back of an Amazon warehouse, and that's all it is it just says, hey, for Coinbase or whatnot, whichever one it may be. I can't remember the exact exchange, but it's literally like the mailing address is literally just a little
The back closet.
PO box
Amazon.
that's a closet, and once a month somebody might pop in and check it.
Oh my word.
So some of these are very much basically an online entity, and they're
Well,
doing all this
I
exchanging
see
of money.
these machines. Okay.
I hate them, but okay.
I know. And I watched a lady one day put an awful lot of money into that machine.
Was she on the phone the whole time?
Yeah.
She was being scammed. I can pretty much 100% tell you she
Really?
was getting scammed.
Yep, she was talking on the phone and she was popping money into
Yep.
that machine. And it was the machine was at a service station.
I am
mean,
99.9% sure that is a scam.
Wow. So this person has scammed her and got her to believe them so that she's sending money to them through this, and this is the crypto thing.
So they're very much like ATMs. Some of them will take credit cards. You can swipe your credit card, send an amount to an address. Some of them are almost like a Coinstar, where you just like deposit cash, and then it'll exchange that for whatever crypto you're doing. I think one's Litecoin that we've dealt with. Bitcoin's the typical one because it's kind of the leader
Is
that
that
started everything.
considered money?
Yes. So in the sense that it has value, not in the sense that you can go to 7-Eleven buy groceries. So
Okay, that's
Bitcoin-
confusing.
It's digital currency.
Okay,
It's not a
so-
currency you can hold.
Well, all right. So somebody has to have a crypto or Bitcoin account in order to get that money from this lady?
typically.
Okay. And then how do they use it?
So you have to usually start a wallet. So the easiest way to explain it, we're going to take it down a lot. So same as you have a wallet that you keep your money in.
Right.
This is just a digital version.
Okay.
Okay. So then when you're creating your Bitcoin, basically it makes an address, and then that's your Bitcoin amount when you're buying it.
Wow.
And this is all done digitally. So say you have $20 in your wallet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now that has an address associated with it. Where it gets real confusing is now I'm going to send this to somebody else. That address changes to wherever that goes to.
Really?
So that's why it becomes inherently very quickly hard to track.
I'm sure.
And then, so from this wallet, I send it to, say, you. Now it's in your wallet. Now it's got an entirely different identity to it because that number entirely changed just because it went through a source.
And they probably set that wallet up with a fake ID or something. So
Because
once you get
most
to
of them
that-
want you to scan your ID when
Right.
you set them up.
Wow. How do you spend it?
So you typically you just, it's almost like companies where they're like trading stocks. The value goes up, the value goes down based on the demand for it, for the most part. Not too many places you can actually just walk into and spend Bitcoin. I think Tesla, will let you spend some.
Well, what good is it then?
It's the new fad.
Oh, for goodness.
Yeah, and you
What
can do
is I think
cash
Bitcoin's
conversions. It's
$90,000 a
no,
Bitcoin
it's over
or something? now?
100,000
Is it
now.
100,000
Yeah.
now?
It busted 100,000 last
It's
week.
all the time going up. And it's Bitcoin's the leader of it, basically. It's the one that started. You've had a bunch of spinoff. I'm sure you heard Elon talking about Dogecoin.
Yes.
It was kind of a fad for a little bit. They were kind of playing with, and people made money on it because it went from fractional of a cent to actually almost $1. I think.
So is it considered like a stock?
It's like a digital currency stock.
Kinda.
Okay.
That's the best way I can describe it.
It's really hard to explain. and
It's
It is.
confusing.
We could do a whole show on that, but he's got some other issues he wants to talk
Okay,
about.
please. Because the time's getting away from us. so.
But it's a very hard thing to track, and that's why most of our scams we're looking at typically either want gift cards or crypto
Right.
for payment, because it's very hard to track or even impossible to track in certain cases. And pretty much once it hits an exchange, say your crypto, it's cashed out to so many different people, you're not going to track it.
Wow.
You're pretty much done with trying to track it.
It almost sounds like it was invented for that purpose.
Well, it was in the original point of the invention of it, I think, had noble means. That way the government could control it. It was kind of outside of Big Brother oversight, like your banks. You can't just print more of it.
Yeah,
like you
it's
can with
digital
money.
mining is what they call it.
Yes. And so it is much more
You know
secure
about it.
for the most part. It checks on itself and builds. So you can't counterfeit it necessarily.
Okay.
So it is a little bit more secure in that sense. The sense that without that oversight, it's pulling teeth to track.
Yep.
And it doesn't, each one kind of has its own footprint, but like I said, it gets mixed into so many other things and changes hands so many times, each time it changes its identity. So
When you think
it's hard to explain it in layman's terms.
when you think about it, and you think about this machine, which is in a gas station, and all that is required to use it, it just by hearing that sounds illegal.
It seems shady. And
Yeah.
to be honest, I'd say if we really looked and ran figures on it, I would say you have two people that primarily use it, suspects and victims, if we really
Really?
got down to it. So
Wow.
that's why I kind of said at the beginning I hate them,
Yeah.
because we've had a lot of victims end up losing quite a bit of money to them.
So these romance scams, okay, do these people use that to send the money?
Sometimes we've had some of those where crypto was used. A lot of times it's just they're sending money, they're sending cash. I mean, they'll literally put cash in an envelope and send it to somebody or hand it off to somebody.
Oh my goodness.
Which is the worst possible thing you can do. My neighbor sent 3 birthday cards to 3 of their grandchildren, and only one of them received a card, the other 2 didn't. They each had a $20 bill in them. That it's gone.
And on that note, it's $20. You know what I mean? Nobody's losing their house over $20 typically.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, right.
But these ladies that are being scammed are losing stuff.
The one that I think I had most recently, she thought she was talking to Kid Rock online, and
Goodness.
she had been sending money to set up her security detail so they could get married.
Oh my goodness.
I'm pretty sure Kid Rock does not need your money. And I mean, not making fun, but they're very convincing. This is their day in and day out job. They work this script. I mean, if they were actors, they would be some of the highest paid actors you would ever see.
Yep. Oh my.
Wow.
That is sad. Very, very sad.
And some of these have actually been linked back to prisons.
Really?
Yeah, they'll have, a group of people sitting around in the prison with whatever access they have to online and stuff, and they'll be raking in the cash for when they get out.
Everything that I have read about it, okay, they go back to Nigeria,
A lot of them.
where these young people, they're like 17, 18 years old, and they have little communities. They are all in a room with computers, and that's what they're doing. That's their daytime job. They're scamming people.
Mm-hmm.
It just blows my mind.
A lot of our other countries, China, Russia, a lot of them very based on computers coming up through school. So they have a very high understanding of computers coming out. I mean, look at our youth now.
Yeah.
I mean, they basically are born, here's a tablet.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, think about the amount of stuff they can just do by the
Absolutely.
time they get to school.
Yeah.
Not to mention if then you have programs that teach them everything about this to be able to do it. It
And
would
they're
be very
teaching
easy.
us.
Yeah, and then it would be very easy for them to then manipulate that into using it for the wrong means. It's
Right.
easy. It's, you know, low risk for the most part because I can bounce my VPN all over the world, and I'm spending your money.
Wow. Wow. It's so much, it is extended so much more than what I ever thought. I mean, it just goes on and on. What else do you have for us, you guys?
So a couple we wanted to touch base on. We've had here recently. He covered kind of more of the UPS and package scams. Those kind of go based off of numbers. They send out thousands of emails and text, hoping somebody's going to click on it and go through their link and follow the prompts. So I think we've kind of touched base. The jury duty scam, I kind of touched base
Oh,
a little bit
yeah.
on that one.
Okay.
Like I said, typically what people were doing is calling, presenting themselves as law enforcement or a federal entity, saying you have a warrant or a scam, and then they're requesting payment to handle that warrant through either Bitcoin, crypto of some kind, or gift cards. What we've been seeing here most likely is they're prompting you to go to one of these kiosks in either the gas stations or the grocery stores and start depositing money and send it to an address that they give you.
So that's where common sense comes in.
Yeah, no,
Call the sheriff's department.
exactly.
Yeah.
If they have a warrant out for you, they're not going to call you and say you can
I
buy your
know.
way out
No.
of it.
I
They're going to
know.
show up at your house and
Well,
pick
that's
you
what
up.
I'm saying. I mean, you've got to have some CS to get through this stuff.
Well,
And-
like he said, also they are very convincing. Like I've had people tell me that they're running a radio in the background, talking 10 codes using law enforcement languages.
It sounds like we're at the office calling you.
Yeah,
Right.
isn't
So
that
they-
something?
And like I said, they're when they call you, they're calling from the sheriff's office phone number. They're
Right.
using spoofing to do that.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
So it adds a lot of legitimacy to what they're saying.
Right.
And then they're throwing out, like, you know, people that actually work for the sheriff's office names that are pretty well known. I mean, we advertise, you know, if people get awards or commendations or something, we put that on
Sure.
Facebook. So they're pretty well known.
But how often do you call someone that you have a warrant for that you're getting ready to go arrest?
I'd say 1 in 100 kind of thing. It's usually because you're real familiar, typically.
Yeah, you know the person.
Like they
and
know
and
they're
it's-
coming to be picked up.
It's not a
typically.
big issue.
and never
No.
and never offer money in exchange for it. So
Yeah,
Oh, my goodness.
So the biggest thing that we try to do to combat pretty much all these scams is they spend a lot of time putting stuff out on social media. When we get a new scam, I try to get Miss Emily, which is our media person, to put it out on social media
Right.
through our app. If you don't have it, it's the BCSO Sheriff's Office app. It is
Please
a
get it.
It's a
awesome tool.
great
That app is awesome.
Yes.
It's totally free. Go to your app store. We got it for Microsoft and Apple. You can do pretty much everything on it. You can do house checks for your house. If you go to the More tab, you can see all the most local scams. You can go click on that stuff. It'll give you more details on it than you'd probably ever want to know, because then you're going to become a hermit and never leave your house. And
Or get a concealed carry.
just do that anyway if you can. I mean, that's always a good idea. But yeah, there's crazy amount of information on there. You can do commendations if you have a complaint, you're not happy how something turned out. You can lodge a complaint through there. All kinds of contact information.
So the
think
number
it's
one
very useful.
thing that you suggest in getting information and any kind of help is do get the app for the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office, right?
Yep.
I have it. I think it's great.
I've got it. And during PTC 8, thing was awesome. Google Maps, nobody could keep track of the roads, but you could just pull up the app and it'd go down, okay, they haven't posted it's open, so that one's still closed. And you can just go on
Oh, I
down and it'd
know.
list every road
Yeah.
that was closed.
I called from the airport and I couldn't get a hold of Brian, so I called it Felicia. I told him I called you girl Friday, you know. And yeah, I said I called her and asked her if I was able to get home from the airport. And this, I called from Philadelphia because I didn't want to fly into Wilmington and not be able to drive home. And Todd was picking me up, so anyway. But it's great. I went to the app and it showed me that, you know, what was closed and what wasn't.
And a lot of times they put out pictures of why it's closed too, because a lot of people don't realize. It's like, well, what do you mean the road's closed? They don't realize there's a truck where the road used to be down in the road.
Yeah.
So it gives you a little better understanding of why the
Right.
road is closed. So it's not just, hey, we're wanting to be mean and shut the road down.
Y'all don't want
Okay.
it closed anymore.
No.
Let's summarize.
I had one
people
more
can
thing I
do.
wanted to.
Okay, well,
discuss.
we're getting, we're going to be time crunched here
Okay.
before the
Title theft. We
Okay.
started talking about that before we started the show. Have you? I know you said you've had a little bit of it here. How are they doing it in North Carolina? Because North Carolina has some very unique requirements that other states don't. I think it's Georgia. They can steal your title. They don't have to have a copy of your ID. In North Carolina, most register of deeds require a copy of an ID when they're doing a title change.
So most recently what we've been seeing with them, we've had a few that were caught kind of mid to towards, you know, getting into closings and found out, hey, this is a scam. We caught it like just in the nick of time. But typically what they're doing is they're using fake IDs. So they'll present themselves as the owner of the property. Say if they're wanting to get the money from the closing. It's not quite exactly the same as title theft, but it's all kind of all included. So they'll present themselves as either the owner and trying to sell the property to get the money from the sale, or they'll present themselves as a pretend buyer. And they'll come up with fake money, use fake identities to then buy this property and then sell it for real. So then that money is now real. And then by the time everything comes to that, hey, this was all fake, everything's exchanged hands.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it's my understanding we don't have as much trouble in North Carolina as other states.
So it's another fad scam. It's kind of went away for a while. It's starting to kind of rear its head around a little bit. We've had a few calls about it. We were pretty fortunate that most of them, it didn't make it very far. And then here typically our realtors try to make contact with the actual buyer on, you know, say tax form, something that would actually have your phone number and everything on it that they can look up and then make contact and send letters out. And typically you have an opportunity to go, hey, I'm not selling my property,
Right.
and to stop the whole thing before it goes anywhere. On the not so fortunate side is people that are fortunate enough to have second and third homes. Sometimes they bounce around a lot. So they may not still live at the same address they had listed on this tax form. And a lot of times those are the properties that we're seeing this kind of stuff happen to, because nobody really comes in to check on it. Nobody really thinks about it until all of a sudden you come in and there's a house built on your property that you used to own and everything's been done pretty legitimate,
Right.
other than the fact that the original sale was not legitimate.
And on that scary note, folks, we have to break away and pay some bills. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
What a great place we all call home. From colorful sunsets to panoramic coastal views. The best attractions are its people, a community of friends and family. J.K. Summers, attorney at law, recognizes this fact and is proud of his work to protect their rights. Put your trust in him to prepare wills and trusts, real estate transactions, contract and LLC creations, and criminal, traffic, and civil matters. Visit oakislandlaw.com or call 910-253-5572. J.K. Summers, attorney at law.
Veteran Awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you are a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
Welcome back, folks, to All Things Brunswick. If you have been with us today, you know that we're talking about scamming. And to save time, I'm just going to go right over to Detective White and have him summarize some of the things that we need to be aware of.
So big things are we're seeing a lot of emails coming out, making false threats, saying, "Hey, we're going to leak that we've been watching your computer. We know you've been on pornographic websites. Send Bitcoin, usually in the sum of $2,000, to this address." Obviously, you know typically they're sending pictures of your house from Google. These are fake. The biggest thing is you would never even know. You shouldn't be opening emails that you don't recognize, because one, it could be phishing. Two, it could just be that they're trying to send emails hoping to scare somebody and get them to send money.
Yeah.
There's no legitimacy to these. If you are on those sites, don't go to those sites. If you're not on those sites, you don't got anything to worry about. Pretty much everything we've seen on those, again, they're using fake VPNs, so there's nothing to really track with them. They're just sending out thousands of them hoping to catch somebody that bites.
Sure.
Typically, there's no personal information to really identify you. What it is pretty much stuff you can find on a Google search. Mm-hmm. So with those, don't be worried about it. If you get one, call us. We can kind of walk you through the steps. Pretty much with any scams, if you feel like it's a scam, give us a call. We'll talk you through it on the phone.
Great.
We can usually kind of knock them down on most scams. We'll kind of touch base real quick. Fake charities. This time of year, everybody's feeling like giving. Just do your due diligence and check on them. Check reviews. Check business bureaus, stuff like that. A lot of them will have links if anybody's reported them as scams or had issues with them in the past. Mm-hmm. Just do your research on them before you just send them money.
Great.
So that's the biggest thing with that. Mailing checks. This is probably my biggest pet peeve here of late. Please do not mail checks anymore. If you need to pay bills, try to set up through your bank either a bill pay, set it up using a credit card. Almost all of them do some kind of auto draft now. We've had so many checks get intercepted, and even if they don't take that original check and change it, what they're doing is they're taking that check, they'll go down to Office Max and get printing software. They'll scan that check and duplicate what they need out of it and write as many checks as they want to whatever they want. And a lot of times what they're using is mules, so they'll take it down to Jim Bob, who's homeless down the road, and, "Hey, go cash this check, I'll give you $500. They'll go cash it, bring them back the $500, and then that's the person we're tracking down, and he doesn't know anything about it. Right. And he's unfortunately usually catching charges in some cases for stuff that he may or may not know too much about.
That is an important one. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I think the moral of the story is stick with cash.
Cash is good. Don't mail cash because there's no way to track it either. If it disappears, it's gone.
Yeah.
We could have another entire show on this, which I would really like. Since our time is up, would you be willing to come back and talk some more on this?
We sure would.
Super. Folks, please remember everything that these gentlemen have stated today and use some common sense when you're doing something. I think will be helpful. I want to thank you, Detective White and Detective Mullis, very much for joining us and giving us this information. And we are going to have you back for sure. Okay. Folks, stay with us, please. Join us again next week on Wednesday. We're going to be talking with more people from the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office on human trafficking. Thank you, and thank you, Todd, for being here.
Thank you. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button.
Yeah, thanks, guys, for being with us, and we are going to see them again. Thank you, and have a good evening.